Hey guys, it's Toby Morrison here, and on the other end we've got Miguel from Vancouver.
hmm
But
Vancouver.
you're not actually in Vancouver right now.
No, I'm in across America in Mexico in Cancun on vacation.
Nice, nice. Dude,
Yeah.
before we get into this chat, it's funny, we were just talking about it just off air, but it's really cool because you're like a video marketer and you basically help businesses with their video content. And I knew you obviously through the online recovery program, and then I've
hmm
seen you recover, and then I saw you start your own business and launch it, and it just looks super professional. And literally like 2 days ago, I was like, oh, I need someone to help me with some editing of some videos for YouTube. And then I was looking online, and then I thought, oh, that guy Miguel from Vancouver, I'll message. And so I messaged you, and I'm like, hey, like, dude, I remember you doing video. Like, do you think you could help me? And you were like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, oh, we need to like do a success story because we haven't done one. And the crazy part was that you messaged me saying, dude, that's been like my dream to do a success
yeah.
story, because it wasn't that long ago when you were watching some success stories online when you were really struggling with your health, and you were
Yeah.
saying, what did you say to yourself back then?
I remember I was like, this was after 3 months of being completely bedridden. I found your videos. I was writing down notes on like sticky notes, putting them on beside my bed. I was like, pace yourself, and just control your activities. But I was saying to myself, like, I'm gonna be in one of these videos on Toby's channel, CFS Health, and that was my goal. I was like, I promised to myself I'm going to be on there one day, because at that point that was like impossible to do, but now it's like actually coming true. So it's crazy. Back then it was impossible to do, but we're here today
Yeah,
doing it. It's
yeah.
crazy.
And that's what it's funny, the serendipity of things, like the synchronicity of just me messaging you about the video and then going, oh hey, like let's do an interview like while we're at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool, dude. It gave me kind of shivers down my spine yesterday. I was like, wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
It's been a crazy ride, to say
Yeah,
the least.
yeah. And that's why we're going to do this chat, because people looking at you now and seeing you strong and healthy, and you're on vacation, across the country, and it's hard for people to go, oh yeah, but like he wasn't even that bad. He probably didn't even have it. Like, look at him, how it's impossible. I remember people said that to me. I remember I went and visited a children's hospital and kids had chronic fatigue syndrome, and I was kind of volunteering my time, and one of the girls said, you didn't have chronic fatigue syndrome. Like, you've got muscles. Like, how did you never had that.
Yeah.
And that's what you related to. But you, like, in back then, and you can kind of share your story, but like back then, like I remember like you being in hospital.
Yeah. I
Like,
was in the hospital for a while.
it got bad. Like, you deconditioned, like just you kind of just weren't able to physically function.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the worst, like there were a lot of really low times, but at the worst, I could not turn over in bed for like a good week. I needed help turning over and stuff. My dad even, I asked him to blend my food, because even them feeding me, like spoon feeding me, it was so exhausting. So I had to like drink. I remember he blended like fish and rice this one time, and it tasted so bad, but I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna eat it.
Wow. Dude, I'm so grateful.
And then,
I'm so grateful that you're here now, and where you're at. Like, it's just cool.
Yeah. And I think like even it was really bad, but it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I would probably still be personal training, which was a job that I really liked, but it was just burning me out. And there was no finish line to it. And I was just working way too much and not taking care of myself. And getting sick kind of taught me to be grateful for all of that, and to just listen to my body. 100%, just always listen to my body. But
So
yeah, I was in a, yeah.
before you started the program, before you got into the program and you got help, like where were you at? Like, so you were a personal trainer, you were working huge hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, kind of, was it you were just burnt out, and you kind of it just got worse and worse and worse, and you kept pushing, and then eventually you just couldn't keep up? Or like, explain to us how.
Sure. Yeah. So it started when I was getting hooked on energy drinks for work. because I'm the type of person who just goes. There is no stop. So if I wasn't working, I was studying something like a sales book or whatever. But I was always drinking energy drinks, lots of pre-workout. For anybody who doesn't know that stuff, it's like a bunch of stimulants that wake you up. It's kind of like really strong coffee, but in a different form.
Not great after a while.
Yeah. So lots of coffee, energy drinks, pre-workout, working like 12-hour days. And the biggest thing was just the mental stress. I would always put a lot of pressure on myself to be the best and all that kind of stuff. And then after about a year doing that, I started noticing that I had sleeping issues. So I was like, okay, it's just sleeping issues. And then one day, I start feeling really shaky. I'm just reading a book in the library and then had the worst panic attack ever. My heart rate went up to like 150. Blood pressure went through the roof. And then they had to give me oxygen and stuff. I thought I was going to die right there. But that was the first time that happened. And over the next year, that probably happened 15 times, just randomly, until it got to the point where I was so deconditioned where like I had to stay home for like a good few months. And then I started seeing a naturopath. And the naturopath was giving me tons of stuff like adaptogens, other vitamins for my adrenals. And I was also getting IV treatments, which I see a lot of people in the group get, but I would definitely not recommend getting a lot of those because I was getting one like every 2 weeks. I was like living off that stuff. So I was doing that.
What kind of symptoms were you experiencing in that time? Was it the severe fatigue, the lethargy, swollen glands, sore throat? Like for you, what was it? Because everyone's kind of different.
Yeah. For me, it was more so like a bunch of things combined. It was never just one. It was like a dozen. But the main one was always a lingering headache, always some kind of headache going on or nausea, but also heart rate. My heart rate was always high, and it would feel like my head was pounding. Insomnia. I'd always get really hungry.
It's ironic when people say insomnia, like people who have never experienced chronic fatigue syndrome, they just think like, oh, that'd be nice, like to sleep all the time. And it's like, it's, there's a cycle of it that can get worse and then you just don't sleep at all. You kind of feel exhausted all the time, but you can't actually get rest.
Exactly. Wired and tired.
Yeah.
I was just, my body was buzzing. I'd be lying in bed at like 3 a.m. and then my thoughts are just racing. And it's crazy because everything just starts to snowball. Once you get a few symptoms and it's like, you get anxious about them and you get more. And then, just body aches and weakness and shortness of breath, like a lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff.
And did you kind of, you had a naturopath, did you kind of find it hard to, figure out what you had? Like, was it
yeah, that was one of the most frustrating parts because I saw my family doctor for it. I saw multiple doctors actually. And then even the doctors in the hospitals, when I went to the hospital, I got turned away multiple times, or sometimes I was so weak I couldn't even like hop up on the x-ray machine. And they're like, no, you're fine, you'll do it. But little did they know, like if I do that and just walking across the room for the x-ray machine and like in a crash cycle. But they had no idea what was going on. Like no idea at all. They thought they did tests on me, like multiple tests, liver. They even tested my nervous system with this like electrode thing. Wow. CT scan. They did all kinds of blood tests, adrenal test, which actually turned out okay, which was really weird.
Yeah, for sure. And going, like, you were obviously super fit.
Yeah.
You were nonstop. And then from going from that to then basically not being able to do anything, that in itself is a huge mental adjustment.
Oh, that was one of the hardest parts. Yeah.
It almost is the hardest part, especially in order for you to start the recovery process. It's like you go from here, you go down, and then it's like you're at this spot and it's like, oh shit, like I can't do what I know who I am and what I do. And it's like, who am I? What do I do? And so how did you deal with that?
Oh man, that was that was easily the hardest part. Well, yeah, that was the hardest part. I relied a lot on the people around me, especially family, to just somebody to talk to, because then it would feel like, oh yeah, I'm not going crazy. I'm still here. I could still have some sort of conversation. But the loss of identity was big for me because my whole life, yeah, I was an athlete. I was like football team captain, wrestling team in high school. I was the fit guy. I was the go-getter. And then now, like, I couldn't even bring myself to the washroom by myself. So your ego takes a huge hit. And then you're left there thinking like, okay, you need to rebuild yourself from scratch, but you don't know where to start because, like, what can you do? Nothing really. So it's just, what did I do?
And I think that's
I don't even
like that. Like I remember, yeah, dude. Like I'm remembering back to my days when I went through exactly what you're going through, and it's like when the doctor or even your family or your loved ones, they say, oh yeah, you just like you just need to be get a bit more motivated and just start a bit of exercise and go for a walk and eat better and sleep better. It's like you just want to say you like
yeah
because it's just
yeah
like, especially where you were at, which was pretty non-functioning. So it's like, how do you even start that? When from that point, when did you find the program?
I found the program.
Was it long after that?
It was like probably 3 months being super bedridden.
Yeah.
3 months being super bedridden, and I got to the point where I could kind of like look at my phone screen from the corner of my eye. It's looking directly at it would trigger a migraine. So I just kind of scroll and just click on a video and then listen to it to try to kill time and all that. And then I came across I found the testimonial videos to be huge because then I was realizing like, wow, okay, I'm not the only one who's going through this. Like there are other people. And that was the biggest one because then it actually gave me some sort of hope because yeah, if I didn't watch those videos, then it would be like, okay, well, like no one has this. This is extremely rare and I'm probably going to die. Like many times I thought I was going to die, like straight up.
Yeah. Especially when, there's just no hope, especially when there's no understanding, no hope, and you're feeling so shit, and that doesn't even describe it. That doesn't describe it at all properly, but
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Everyone who's watching knows what I'm talking about, but it's like, oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like you kind of want to keep searching what's wrong with you because you actually do feel like sometimes you are dying.
Yeah. And then that's another thing too. So I would try to look for answers, which would only make things worse.
Yeah.
Because I was convinced, like 100% convinced that I had like MS or Lyme's disease or like early onset of Alzheimer's, because sometimes I would just be lying there and my head is like twitching or like rocking back and forth and I can't control it. I'm like, what the heck? Do I have like early onset Parkinson's or whatever? So there were no answers, and that was the hardest part. There was no concrete like, this is what it is and this is what you do to fix it. That was one of the hardest parts too, not knowing. It was
dude, thanks so much. This insight's really cool. So when you were at that point and then you found the program, what was the pivot point for you? Like, how did it change? Like, obviously, like it's really inspiring where you're at now, but you were super low. So what was that pivot point when you joined the program? What did it, like, what happened? Like, what happened? How did you shift and go, all right, it's like gone from keep on searching for all these answers that aren't there and you're getting worse and, that stresses you out. And this is what I say to basically everyone who joins the program. It's like, stop searching. Like, it doesn't help, does it?
No. It really starts with your mindset. And that's what I learned. Like as much as it is in your body, it's like your brain is sending your body the wrong signals. So you need to rewire what's going on up here to fix anything that's happened neck below. So it didn't happen. Yeah, it didn't happen instantly for me. Like it probably took another 5 months because I would push myself way too hard as in I would sit up like 10 times a day instead of 6 times a day. And like, that would be overdoing it for me.
Wow.
That was my baseline at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when in my mind, I was just like, okay, there is no other option. Like, this is the way to get better. Stop searching for answers. Stop wishing that you're just magically going to change. And
Yes.
yeah, I feel like it's almost like if you're driving down a road and you hit a brick wall, it's like that brick wall is gone now. And it's like, okay, we're going this route, and then we're just going to stick with it. And it's not going to be perfect.
Well
Yeah.
described, because I feel like, yeah, if you're, imagine you're driving and what you're saying before is like you're driving straight, but then there's this sign that says go this way because there might be an answer there, but then you get down there and then it's like, no, turn around. That's
Exactly.
and then the other side, and then so you've got all these distractions and you're not actually going forwards in the way. So that's a really metaphor, yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, it's like I ended up in the hospital because I lived with my grandparents for like 6 months. They were helping just keep me alive and feed me, bring me to my doctor's appointments like 24/7. But I moved to my dad's place just to try to change up the environment because wasn't doing too well. And then my grandpa, who was taking care of me for like 6 months and bringing me food, he actually passed away. So that was like a whole nother stress on me. And then for 2 weeks after that, it was just so much stress that like my body shut down. I had to go to the hospital because like I was throwing up acid and stuff, and like my liver was struggling. So I had to go to the hospital. They had to clear my liver from the naturopath stuff. I was hooked up to IVs.
Wow.
Because they also tried to do a detox with me around that same time, the naturopath. They were like, it was probably all the pre-workout and all that from years ago. And then we did a detox, and that really took me out. It literally, this one night, I felt like I was getting pricked with needles all over my body. And it felt like I was getting electrocuted every time I even thought of like lifting a finger or moving. So that was probably the hardest night.
Your nervous system was just not ready.
It was
too sensitive for the changes and the adaptions that you put your body under. And then obviously, I think, you're obviously really
exactly.
sensitive. Most people with CFS as well, they're sensitive people, which isn't a bad thing. We're just like sensitive, like they've got a big heart, caring, empathetic, kind.
Yeah.
So I guess there's that empathetic side, the empath side that can, when
and I feel like I'm the kind of person where like my whole life I could kind of pick up on the energy of the room of some sort, something like that, and sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. So when you get bombarded with that like your whole life and you don't know how to deal with it, then you kind of just lose control. But I ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks. I was in ICU. It was pretty bad. Then they moved me to another part of the hospital, and then I was like, okay, like this is as bad as it gets. This is so bad I can't even sit up in bed at this point. So I was
I'm just like, it's
just a crazy story, right?
It's really small now to where you're at now, but I get it, the rock bottom part.
Yeah, because thinking with CFS, it's like you think you're at rock bottom, and then once you like you think it's bad, and then it gets even worse, and then it gets even worse. So it's just not putting too many expectations on yourself to like all of a sudden recover one day. For me, it got to the point where it's like, okay, I have nothing to lose. Let's just try, but no expectations. I'm not hoping to get better like next week or anything. And then I slowly started getting better from there. And it wasn't perfect. Like there were still days where I had to sleep in bed all day, but then maybe the next day I would sit in a wheelchair and go to the washroom on my own. And for me, that was like, I was ecstatic to do that. So it's just getting excited about the little things. Like I was so happy that I was able to like bring my wheelchair 20 feet away and like eat with other people sitting up. For me, that was the turning point, because it's like, okay, this is what it feels like to be normal again, to eat with people and just talk
and make progress.
Exactly.
And I really like what you said before about like, doing what was appropriate for you, like sitting up out of bed for 6 times a day was a good amount at the time. And so and it wasn't like you needed to be super strict on it, but it was just about doing what's appropriate, and you kind of knew where you were at so you could build from there. And it
Mhm.
sounds like what happened was from that 3-month period and over the next 5 months is you just slowly built up appropriately for what your body was able to do and recondition yourself, but then also enjoy the process. You know, it was like you're really setting the example for what it is like to make recovery less stressful by going, you know, I'm going to do what I can to help myself, but I'm not expecting to like get better overnight. And you know,
Yeah.
anything's a bonus at this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way I see it now. Everything's a bonus. So if it seems like I'm having a bad day, or say I lose out a deal on a big client, or whatever, I'm stuck in traffic for, let's say, 5 hours, then it's actually not that bad, because I definitely know what it's like to be like in the hole. And in my mind, it's like there were so many times I could not even be here anymore because I was so bad. So now everything is just like so much better. But yeah, the way to recovery, it's like, when I was in the hospital, they tested all these. I mean, was taking Tylenol, I was taking blood thinners in bed because I wasn't moving. They had me on like 8 different things, but they gave me selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors,
Yep.
which they're known as antidepressants, but really they taught me the science behind it, where it just like unties the knot in your mind. So they're like, okay, well, the medication will help kind of just get you out of the hole, but like what's going to help you really get better, like long term, and the most powerful thing is how you deal with your symptoms and how you handle them. So every time let's say I wheeled myself to the washroom, come back, and then I feel my legs kind of shaking a little bit, and then I'm kind of out of breath, then it's like I didn't freak out. Whereas before I would totally freak out. And then it's just understanding that, yeah, you're building yourself up again. But actually, just like you teach, it's, yeah, take two steps forward and expect to have 1 step back, or whatever. But it's not going to be a perfect line straight up.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm still pushing myself. And then say this trip, I'm in Cancun, I'm probably going to, 1 or 2 of the days, I'm going to just chill out all day. Right. But it's at the point where I'm like kind of a normal person now, because even normal people
I
feel
was
that.
just going to say that's what healthy people would do anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, you're running your own business, and it's like, yeah, we'll go and chill out like it's normal. But for a type A person
Yeah.
like you and I and so many people out there, it's like, how do you slow down? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
It's a behavior to learn, isn't it? Of just like, all right, let's just slow down and chill out and enjoy
Yeah.
our life as well
Yeah.
as progress and achieving stuff.
Yeah. And just learning to mentally just check out. Like if there's something you have to do, or you have an obligation, just if you can mentally just like switch that off, that, oh, okay, I have to do this and this and this and this, then I think that's the biggest thing. Because now I don't really stress at all for my business or anything.
Wow.
Whereas before I would freak out about the smallest things. So it's just learning to let go, which that has been the biggest thing that this has taught me, this whole journey.
So cool.
Just learning to let go.
Let's just simplify it just for people who are listening. So what are
Sure.
like 3 key pivot points for you from when you shifted from that rock bottom? I feel like number 1 is really when you just stopped looking for all these different problems and you just stopped focusing on that and you started focusing on what you could do. Is that number 1?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say, yeah, getting rid of expectations. Getting rid of expectations and just be. Literally just be. Yeah. Stop trying to force it. Just accept it. And it's hard to let go at first, but I mean that's the only way to just get all that pressure off of you. I feel like that's where it starts.
Yeah, and one of the first chapter in my book that I wrote years ago was acceptance. It was on acceptance, and really the key saying was acceptance is not resignation. Accept where you're at, but it's not forever.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember reading that and hearing that multiple times, which was huge. So yeah, the first one, just get rid of expectations. Don't be so hard on yourself, but get rid of expectations. Number 2 is, I would say, deal with your symptoms in a healthy way. Like, don't freak out as soon as like you start getting out of breath, or you feel your heart rate start to go up a little bit. Just, I kind of taught myself to have a positive correlation with that. So it's like, okay, I'm getting all these symptoms. I know that if I slow down right now, it'll give my body time to adjust. It wasn't like, oh, I need to stop right now, or else my body's just going to crash again. It's like, okay, let's push ourselves to that point. And if we feel that, then yeah, let's pull it back. Let's just barely touch that point and pull it back so that our body has time to adjust. So dealing with symptoms.
You learned well in the program. You listened properly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, just like you said, it's just like working out where when you start to feel a little bit of pain or it's a little bit uncomfortable, well, that's how you know you're making progress. But you need to give your body space to recover.
Yeah, like it's like stop yourself before you get to the pain point.
Exactly.
And like it's hard for people to do that, but once you learn that you still can do stuff without feeling any worse than you currently do, and stopping yourself before you do, then that's how you build.
Yeah, yeah, and not just pushing yourself physically, but also mentally. It's like push yourself a bit mentally, and then but also learn to like just take that pressure off yourself and just accept everything. So
yeah, great advice.
Getting rid of expectations. What was the second one I just said?
Basically just going, just being with where you're at, doing within your bracket of appropriateness and staying within that and building from there. And what was your third thing, like your pivot point? What about progressing like that helped you progress?
Oh, yeah.
1 and 2, but what about you progress? Like you're living life again, you're traveling, you're running your own business. Like obviously it wasn't an overnight thing, and I think you've explained it really well for people to know that. But what how was it transitioning back into life? Like obviously, as you know, being healthy again, still life isn't always perfect, right? Like, yeah. It's like, that's a bit of a rude shock as well sometimes. It's like, oh, what? Like, I thought life was easy.
Yeah, because once I got out of the hospital, then it's like, okay, back into the real world, time to pay some bills again, time to do all this stuff. Yeah. It's like, I guess for me, I'm pretty lucky because I found my passion, which is video and all that. But for me, it was like setting little milestones or goals and just always having that vision in my mind. Because when I got out of the hospital, I had to track my steps. So I got a Fitbit and I was at like 200, 300 steps a day, and 400, 500. But I would just have little milestones, and it was cool to see it building every week. And then some weeks I would just be so tired and sleepy all the time, and for me, I learned to accept that. It was okay. I was like Netflix all day and just go to sleep. But setting little milestones, and once you start noticing the little wins, like for me, my girlfriend would visit me for like 8 months. She would bus over like 2 hours twice a week across the city to visit me. So it was cool to finally drive over to her after all those 8 months of her visiting me. So that was like surreal. It's almost like everything you do again it's like brand new. And I just got super excited about that. Like just going outside and breathing in fresh air when I wanted to with my dog, like that was awesome.
Yeah. And where are you at now? Tell us, like, obviously you're, physically, what are you up to? And your work, like, tell me, like, who you're working with, what kind of stuff, what do you love? What's your vision?
Yeah. So for me, when I was sick, I always envisioned in my mind that I would travel a lot and that I would be on my own schedule and be able to just do all this cool stuff. And when my body was in too much pain, then I would like take my mind elsewhere and kind of live in this fantasy world. And it's cool because a lot of those things that I was envisioning like for hours and hours every day, it's like I got to experience it all within the past year. Like I went to Hawaii. I'm in Cancun now. We were in another part of Mexico earlier this year, but now I'm running a video production company. And then it's cool because that also ties into me traveling. So I get to travel with some guys to do vlogs with them, which is awesome.
Wow.
And then I'm probably making more money than I was in the personal training now. Actually, no, I am making more money now. Yeah. Whereas before I felt like that was the only way to do it. And I don't know. I feel like getting sick, it opened all these new doors for me. It made me look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm running the video production company, and we work with right now it's lots of bigger companies for like video business card kind of things. and I'm on my own schedule, and life is good. Life is great. It's great. Better than I imagine it would be when I was sick. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm just thinking about all the people watching this right now, and like just having that like the shiver down their spine of like, oh, like,
Yeah, because I used to be them. I used to be them. Like
yeah,
totally. I remember journaling a lot of it. There's so many times where I wanted to give up. I was like, there was a time where I was like, know what? They don't know what's wrong with me. I hope they find out that it's Lyme's. I'll just accept it. I hope it's Lyme. So then at least they can get me out of this bed and I could walk again. Or I would be like, if I could trade both my legs right now and be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life to not feel like this, like I would do it in a heartbeat. Or if I could give all the money in my bank account and my car and everything I own, if I could throw it into the ocean and be healed in like a snap of a finger, then I would do it.
yeah.
So I wanted it so bad, and now that
Did and you
it's
did
here,
like
it's
and that's
crazy.
the difference. See that, and that's normal to think like that. I remember I was the same. I'd lay in bed just like, and I wasn't really religious, but I would pray at night, and I would pray and just like pray to God or whoever it was. It's like, please, can you please just like make me better tomorrow?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'd wake up and I'd just like kind of like open my eyes, just like maybe thinking that something might be different, and it wasn't.
yeah,
And
yep,
but then there's that
yeah,
shift, and the shift takes that responsibility for yourself because you took it. You took the responsibility. No one fixed you but
yeah,
you, and
yeah,
that's a really key core component that everyone really needs to realize and self-honor that it was like, oh, hey, like, I've gone from wishing it to dreaming about it to then actually going, all right, well, what actions can I take? What can I do? What can I change? What behaviors can I change? What physicality can I do in order to improve my health and my life? And you've done
yeah,
it, and you're still doing it. You're still, you're looking after yourself. You're running you're thinking about that vision and you're being grateful for it. It's pretty damn cool.
yeah, yeah. It was very surreal, the whole thing.
So,
Like it's been crazy. Everybody I tell now, it's like they can't believe that. I tell them I was in bed for 8 months, like completely bedridden. I had to get spoon fed, and then had to get help from my 7-year-old grandma to go to the washroom, where it should be the other way around. I should be helping her at that age. So yeah, your ego just falls apart, and then they can't believe it. And I'm like, yeah, just stay away from the coffee and the pre-workout.
yeah,
That's what I tell them.
yeah, and that's always the case. It's usually a combination of things of like putting heaps of pressure
Yeah,
on yourself, a virus or an infection, stress, overdoing it, pushing yourself, not doing the right things physically. It's usually a combination of those things that cause these kind of issues. Let's just say, you know, someone's at home right now. They're watching this. They're in a bad way. They're relating to you. They're going, man, I'm at where you were at when you're talking about the past. What would you say to that person right now?
I would say, like it's all good. Like a lot of people have been there before, and I was there. Like it seems impossible. That would be like me saying I want to climb Mount Everest tomorrow. Like that's how unrealistic it would feel for you. But just keep having that vision in your mind, and just think about what you want to do when you get better, or even say if you were to get better, because that I feel like that would be more believable for you. So just keep dreaming, keep having that vision, and then naturally you'll be pulled towards that. But think big, think huge, or else it won't get you excited to change.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
yeah,
I think what you're also saying is like think big, but then just do the little steps today that'll help you get to the vision.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, think about all the stuff you would do if you were better, all the stuff, what you want to be doing in 10 years, all the places you want to travel to and visit, and just keep meditating on that, because that will, I don't know, it'll like subconsciously put all these ideas in your mind. It'll just take your mind off all the pain and that stuff. And that's what I did whenever I had really bad migraines. And it helped a ton, So just keep dreaming,
So
keep
good.
having that vision.
Yeah, so good. And I really liked how you said it at the start. It was like, when you said it all starts in the mind, it's like, if someone told you that before you got it, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't,
Oh yeah.
what I'm going through is real. And it's like, you said it, you like, it all starts in the mind, but it is a physical, it's a physical problem, but it starts here, because here creates the physical change in terms of what am I going to do today. And if I'm thinking better and I'm having a better vision and I'm seeing what I would like, then I'm more likely to physically do the necessary steps, the sleeping better, the eating better, the restorative movement, the building up and the reconditioning. It's just it's a recipe for a really nice chocolate cake.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because people used to tell me all the time when I was sick, they're like, it's in your mind is powerful. Then I would get really mad, because for me, all I was hearing was, it's in your head, it's like, it's not real. But what I learned from a lot of the doctors in the hospital as well, is like the actual science that's going on. So your brain has all these different pain centers in your brain. And then when you're constantly stressed and fatigued and tired and anxious, these areas in your brain get way too overactive. And then it gets to a point where, like, now they're just on a feedback loop. So all you feel is anxiety and pain and all of that. So it's a real thing happening in your brain, but just because I can't measure it in your body doesn't mean it's like pain, right? So your body is just constantly sending false signals to your brain is sending false signals to your body that there's danger and pain, and it thinks you're dying, and that's what it feels like. But the pain is all coming from here and sending a signal down to your body.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, there's so much research about it now with neurology and the brain and body connection. And basically, people talk about brain retraining and all that kind of stuff, and there's so many different forms of brain retraining, but at the end of the day, you don't even need necessarily a brain retraining program, because by you having a vision and then you just doing the necessary steps daily, that's what retraining your brain is doing. Like, that's reading a paragraph of a book, reading a sentence, watching a 3-minute video, journaling. That's all retraining your brain.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not something like you just plug into your brain and you flip a switch and then boom, you're running the program. It's like it works slowly over time, and you got to really mold it, and that takes like daily activities and practicing it multiple times.
So good, dude. Just thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of everybody who's watching this video in this moment. I'm sure they were thanking you too. It's just brilliant. I love what you're doing now. I think you're, running a business is great, but doing something you're passionate about is even greater. And I'm looking forward to working with you, but I just think it's really cool what you're doing in terms of helping people get their message and vision out there in an integral way. And that's what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Because nobody's perfect, and everybody's going to have some things go wrong, but it's how you deal with those things. And for something like chronic fatigue, it's like, this is probably a bigger thing than most people experience, but once you do get through it, then you see things so much clearer, and it's like creates a new person. For me, it did, which is a whole better life than I had before the sickness.
Yeah. And you were always you, but you just got too busy and caught up in a vision that you thought you wanted, but you didn't really want.
Exactly. So now I do things. I don't feel like I'm under pressure to do it just to, I guess, to appear a certain way or be like the top trainer or whatever. I do it because, I want to. And just, being in control of your destiny, not doing it because you want to be cool in front of other people, or you want to be successful to prove this person wrong or that person wrong. It's like, do it for the right reasons, and then just stay true to yourself.
Amazing. It's taken a lot of work. I respect you for what you've done. It's it's not easy. I get it. I've been through it. I've done it. So I get the work.
Yeah.
It's not a breeze. It's not a walk in the park kind of thing.
No. It is a very long walk.
Yeah. Well done, mate. I'm super proud of you, and thanks again, Heath, for this interview. It's really cool. going to help.
Yeah, no, thanks for this. Thanks for the program, honestly, because the biggest thing too was just knowing that there's other people out there, and you don't feel super alone. Just knowing that, this is a real thing and you're not going crazy. Um, it was really good to find the program online, and it was super helpful.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, you made the most of it. I watched you in the inner circle. I watched you in our group, and just it was cool that you were always sharing your wins, and everyone was sharing their wins and sharing
Yeah,
working. And then when you try something new and it starts working for you physically, mentally, emotionally, it's like it's cool to watch. You know,
yeah. Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
good. So much love.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I hope this helps a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, mate. Thanks heaps again. We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
See you, mate. Thank you.